My missus works as lunchtime staff for one of our local schools, and my daughter goes to that school. So she went back last week, my partner did, and she said we're going to kind of give it a week and see what we see before making a decision about our own daughter.
Okay.
From off the bat, when she came home later on that night, we immediately knew we weren't going to be sending our daughter back. They've got the kids, like, because they can't sit together in the lunch hall, and because the classes are being cleaned by the teachers at lunchtime, in between lessons kind of thing, they've got them sat outside in the playground, eating their lunch on the floor, not even on benches.
But that's not. I don't know that increases the risk of catching coronavirus. It's far from ideal, but
it's far from. Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. But then when you've got weather like literally today, I'm looking outside my back door and it's absolutely hammering it down.
Sorry, I'm sitting there trying to work out why that's a problem. I can hear the rain on the roof of my shed as we speak, and I think, what's he mentioning that for? Sorry, Adam, I'm a bit dopey some days, and I take that back.
So in an ideal world. Basically, I said to her, because immediately she said, I don't know what they're going to do when it rains. So we said, we're going to find out. So we looked at the weather. It's raining tomorrow. So we said, all right, we'll find out. They decided to pull them 6 feet the other way underneath 3 feet of a polycarb roof and had them sat in a line in what is basically a walkway next to wellies and mud kits.
And that might, I mean, again, some parents might think, it's character forming. But the point is, if everybody in the school was back, even that protection, even that shelter would be pointless. It's caught in a plant pot, isn't it? It literally is.
Yesterday, because obviously I've had this under my hat for a few days. I've wanted to phone you. I listen to you every day, like most people do, and I've wanted to speak to you. And
not quite, kind of but said, cheers.
Well, and I thought, it's not a fair reflection to have this kind of platform and to effectively tell people this is what's happening in every school, because obviously it's not.
No, well, this is it.
And there's going to be some schools that have done an absolutely brilliant job, I could only imagine, because the guidelines that have been given from the top down have been so minimal that they've kind of been left to do what they think is best. So you're kind of left with the opinion of the head teacher along with the guidelines and whatever else.
Yes, but that's true of everything. That's every single chapter of this catastrophe has essentially boiled down to, whether it's something as cynical as saying British common sense instead of actually providing leadership, or whether it's, as you describe, abnegating all responsibility and just passing the buck down the line until eventually it arrives in the classroom or in the head teacher's study. So, see, this will tally with what you're saying. The front of the Times today, doctors demand schools reopen. 1,600 paediatricians warn Johnson he risks scarring life chances of a generation. And I mean, it's fairly straightforward. More than 1,600 paediatricians have called on Boris Johnson to reopen schools. So it's his job, it's his call, it's his decision. He's fudged that by passing it down the line. But ultimately, if he announced today that all schools have to reopen tomorrow, possibly it's escaped these paediatricians' notice, it would be an absolute, it would be a dogfight, wouldn't it? It would be ridiculous. Teachers have to clean classrooms, as you say, they end up sitting in the playground, then it rains. It's just a mess. I don't know that it's even fair to blame Boris Johnson for this. You can blame him for the lack of leadership. You can't blame him for the fact that you can't fit 30 children into a room designed for 15.
I blame the Conservatives' attitude towards not giving guidelines, because in my opinion, what it looks like from day dot when they decided not to close the pubs and they decided to say to people not to go to the pubs, but they wouldn't close the pubs. In my opinion, it looks like we're not going to take liability for telling you something that may backfire. So we're going to just give you some really loose guidelines, and if something goes wrong, you can kind of try to blame us and we can just deflect it back to you and say, well, we didn't tell you to do that.
I think you might be onto something there, and it does certainly fit with almost every other area of alleged policy in this context. Before you go, when will... Because it's really... I mean, you're the perfect caller, Adam, in a way, with your partner working in the school, in the school canteen, and looking around and deciding that she's not going to send her own child back to that very school. I mean, that is eyewitness stuff, isn't it? So what are you waiting for? When would you be more confident? Because it's hard for me to imagine an answer to that question. So it's possible you haven't got one, but you must have given it some thought. You've clearly talked about it together.
Well, we talk about it every day. I mean, just briefly before I answer that question, the reason for why I phoned you was because, like, the kicker was that yesterday when it rained, they put them under the climbing frame, and one of the kids, James, he had an uncooked Rustler's burger in his lunchbox.
Oh, mate.
That was his lunch, with a pack of Oreos, and they asked the kid, "Oh, did Mummy pack this for you?" And he said, "Oh, she went to the shop before school." And
didn't realise
we
that the
know
burger was
that
uncooked.
there are some parents there that obviously, you know, like us in certain situations where we struggle and we need these support networks out there. The school and Ofsted have a right to obviously look after these children. They have a safeguarding protocol.
Yes.
And that wasn't abided. And the way we're so focused on COVID-19, it's almost like other things have gone out the window. For us personally, she's not going back till September. And I've discussed the possibility of her not going back until secondary school if that was possible.